Hi, BookTube. This is Lindsay from Lindsay Reads, and I thought since today is Wednesday, and I've already talked about my favorite books from 2018, nonfiction and fiction, I thought today I would mention some of my favorite comic books that I read in 2018. And I kind of grouped them into genres of like superhero comics, then like independent comics, and nonfiction comics. So I can't stay away from nonfiction. So the first comic book I'm going to talk about is 80 Years of Superman, the deluxe edition. And this is edited by Paul Levitz, and it's illustrated by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. And this is like a compilation of like the very first issues of Superman. And me, myself personally, I don't know much about superheroes. I'm not a big superhero movie like watcher or DC or Marvel. I've seen a couple, but I thought I'd give it a shot when I saw it pop up. I was like, oh, that's a perfect way for me to get into Superman, because when I go to a comic book store, I often will see, especially for like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, those kind of storylines. I have no idea where to start because there's so many comics and volumes and storylines. So I thought this would be a good place to start since it's kind of like the very beginning. And I really enjoyed them because nowadays with comics, like a volume, like, issues like 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 or what have you, it's like a story arc, a storyline. But for these, it's like individual stories per issue. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So this next one is kind of going along the same lines as this Superman, is another bind up of the beginning of a series, and this is Legion of Superheroes, the Silver Age of Volume 1, and this is by Otto Binder. And I'm happy I read Superman first, because in this, we don't really have to, but in this comic bind up, Superman plays a part in almost every single issue, even though he's not on the cover here. I was introduced to the Legion of Superheroes by Steve Donahue. I'll leave a link to his channel in case you haven't heard of him. But he keeps talking about the Legion of Superheroes, so I thought I'd give them a shot. And I saw this bind up come up, and I was like, this is perfect for and the same with Superman. Perfect way for me to get into this series is from the very beginning. And the Legion of Superheroes is about a group of teenagers, and they each have their own superpower. And it's about, them fighting evil and, bringing Superman or Superboy, into their group to fight crime. Okay, so this next one, getting away from the superhero comics, is Lumberjanes. And I don't have a particular volume to talk about. I read a couple volumes this year, and it's by Noel Stevenson. Let's see who the illustrator is. Noel Stevenson wrote it. And I think Shannon Waters and Kate Lee, those people who are involved in the series, and same as I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this series, Lumberjanes, because I found out about it through BookTube, and it's a really cute series. It's perfect for all ages, about a group of girls at a camp. And it has a little bit of a sci-fi element to it because they're fighting like monsters and stuff. So it was a really fun storyline. And it's like about each character is like, they're very strong personalities. They're all like diverse characters. So perfect for people who want to get into comics. That's not the typical, comic. So the next one is, let's make this picture bigger, is Descender. And this picture is from volume 1, but same as Lumberjanes, I've read several volumes this year, and it's by Jeff Lemire, and the artist is Dustin Nigan. And this is a sci-fi story, and the art is really cool because it's watercolor. And so the art kind of was just like fascinating. I can just look over it, as art. And the story it's really good. I mean, for the first volume, I was hooked, and I wanted to know more about it. But this boy who's, as you can see from the picture, let me zoom in so you can see him. He's like he looks like a boy, but he's a robot. But at this storyline, he is a robot, but he has human feelings. So he's like living with he's made to live with families and like act as like a brother to the as a brother or son to the family. And what happens with them in the storyline, they're going to different planets and they're meeting, different characters, different beings. So that's that story, comic book. And so this next one is Always Human, and it's written and illustrated by Ari Walkingnorth. Here's a picture of the comic. And this is actually a web comic. And it's free online to read. And this is another kind of sci-fi story. It's about two women and their relationship. But the only sci-fi element is it's like kind of like the Jetsons, where it's like an advanced time, but it's not like sci-fi, like space and whatnot. Not like Star Wars. I mean, it's more more like the Jetsons, where it's more about the human relationships that they have. And this was just the art in this was amazing. It was phenomenal art. And so yeah, there's that one. So this next one is called Revival, and I read several volumes of this. Let's see if I can make it bigger. And this is kind of like a zombie comic. The first one is Revival, a rural noir by Tim Seeley. And the first one is You're Among Friends. And it's by Tim Seeley, and the illustrator is Mike Norton. And this is, I'm not a big zombie person, but for this one, they're zombies, but they're not like brain-eating zombies. What this is, it's set in Wisconsin in a small town. And one day, something happens where whoever died that day comes back to life. And so the whole story is, them like reacclimating, acclimating back to, the normal life, and the different towns in the area wanting to come in and, take like this holy water that they, I want to live forever. So I'm going to go into your town and, try and get your resources. So it's like kind of like the conflict between the zombies and people like, not agreeing with them, thinking, you should be dead. Or people who, so it's like that. Yeah. Okay. So this next one is more of a happy note compared to zombies, is Giant Days. And for this cover, it's like their holiday special edition. I thought it would be perfect for January. Giant Days. I heard about this same as Lumberjanes through BookTube, from various channels. And it's such a happy comic. It's about three girls, and they're in college in the UK. And it's like the hijinks they get up to, their relationships with each other, and their relationships, with their colleagues and their peers. And so it's a really fun comic to dive into. This next one is based on a book that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. It's Anne of Green Gables. And of course, it's based on L.M. Montgomery's series, and it's adapted by Mariah Marston, and it's illustrated by Brenna Thumler. And this is Anne of Green Gables, the first one in her series. And it has all like the famous like stories, the famous plot lines of Anne of Green Gables in this comic. It's illustrated really well. And I had reread 2 years ago. I had reread the Anne of Green Gables series, and so I saw this one come up. I was like, "Oh, it's perfect for me to, read it again," because the story never gets old for me. It's such like a heartwarming story. Okay, the next two are nonfiction, and this one is The Faithful Spy. There's a picture of that. The Faithful Spy, the subtitle is Dietrich Bonhoeffer and the Plot to Kill Hitler, and it's by John Hendricks. And this nonfiction comic book, it intermingles like text and pictures. So like you'll have like a page or two of, comic strips, and then you'll have like a page of text. So this is about World War II. And so if you want to learn more about World War II, but you don't want to read this like big chunker of a book, this would be a good way to get some more information on what happened. And in this one, it's Faithful Spy. It's about a spy who continually is attempting to thwart Hitler and assassinate him, basically. and what happens to their story. This next one, the last one I'm going to talk about, is same as Anne of Green Gables. It's adapted from a book, but it's nonfiction, and it's Anne Frank's diary, the graphic adaptation. And it is by, the adaptation is by Ari Folman. Of course, it's written by, the story is by Anne Frank, and it's illustrated by David Polinsky. And this one, I had read Anne Frank's diary a year or two ago, and it was really good. It really impacted me. But this comic book, for some reason, struck a whole another note with me. Maybe it's just the art, like, actually watching, what was happening, and like the emotions she was going through, and like the whole experience they were going through. I don't know, it really hit me hard. So if you've read Anne Frank, or you don't know the story and you want to get into it, then this one would be very good to pick up. So these are my top 10 favorite comics from 2018. They're not in any order, same as like my other ones. They weren't in any order, because I've read so many comics, so many books, that it's hard for me to pick 10 out of so many that I've read. So yeah, let me know if you've heard of any of these, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.